Okay, so now we're going to take a look at our class data comparison. This pie chart that you're seeing right now is just a overall success versus fail pie chart. The green represents the tests that were successful, and the red represents the tests that failed. Looking at the data, the success rate of the tests was 57.1% success rate, and this is just through the overall all tests. Both of these charts look at the time aspect. The graph on the left, on the y-axis, you have the time it took each test, and on the x-axis, you just have each individual test in chronological order, meaning that all the way on the left is the very first group that went, and all the way on the right is the very last group that went. The green represents the successful tests, and the red represents the unsuccessful tests. Throughout all of the 14 tests, there is not much of a correlation between the time the test took and the success. However, if you look at the 60 seconds between 2 minutes and 12 seconds and 3 minutes and 12 seconds that it took for the test to take, there was a 75% success rate in that time frame, meaning that outside of that time frame, you were having failures, and in that time frame, you were having mostly success. These pie charts take a look at the volunteer, or whether group volunteered versus the success rate. On the left, the pie chart represents the groups that volunteered, whether they succeeded or failed. And you can see it was evenly split 50-50. Half of the groups that volunteered succeeded, the other half did not. Now, this is interesting because most likely the volunteer groups were feeling more confident in their project. However, it was the non-volunteer groups that had a higher success rate, with a 66.7% success rate for the non-volunteers, meaning that 2/3 of the non-volunteer group succeeded versus the 1/3 that did not. This last graph takes a look at the amount of tape used by a group in inches versus their success. So on the y-axis, we have the amount of inches of tape a group used, and on the x-axis, we have, once again, the number of tests in chronological order, red representing a failed test and green representing a successful test. There is no correlation between the amount of tape used and test because there are several values that hit the maximum amount of tape that both failed and succeeded, as well as amounts below 10 that both failed and succeeded. For our changes and modifications, if we were if we were able to perform the challenge again, we would practice more, definitely, because our official test, we were still not totally confident, and it was just until about 10 minutes before our official test that we first got it in the cup. Our first few prototypes, we used the balsa wood for the pin, and after a few tests, it ended up breaking, mostly due to the friction, just from the cube weighing it down, and then as we slide it out across the plastic cup, it starts to wear down, and it eventually broke. And then we ended up repurposing the broken pieces to help our depth perception because we kept dropping the cube a couple inches too short or a couple inches too far. We didn't use the pencil at first because we were already using it while we had the phone, and we kind of just like set it aside as like, all right, we're already using this. We hadn't really thought to repurpose that as well. However, in the end, we did. I think that Roy and I worked very well together as a team for this project. We were always talking while planning out our project. We were always checking with each other before we like broke anything, cut anything, used up our tape, just because those materials were so valuable. Since we only get one version, we can't replace them. Um, our only real weakness was our coordination, just because like I had lab periods and we couldn't really match up our study halls, and we just didn't have enough time to get that practice, which is where we lacked the most.